So I believe today is the second anniversary of the Gwinnett team dropping roughly 40,000 affidavits challenging the 2020 election, as well as many malfeasance on the voter rolls. And this is when I thought cleaning voter rolls was a noble profession, and we've come a long way since then. So the picture on the bottom of the screen, if you can put it back, is a great team photo of us sorting our affidavits. Gwinnett County dismissed all those challenges without even reviewing them. And we had voters that had voted in 18 and 20 in another state, and they still didn't even look at it. And they dismissed them all.
So that was today?
That was 2 years ago.
2 years ago,
I think
okay.
Today, yeah. So, and then Gwinnett. This is late breaking news. So Gwinnett County challenged 120 on the voter roll this morning, and I'll be dog. Gwinnett County dismissed those challenges without even hearing the evidence. Gwinnett County is criminal. There's no way. There's no other way to say it. They do not follow election laws in Georgia. I'm a little fired up already.
Yeah, I see. So wait. So another case of people having evidence.
Yes.
Not wanting to look at the evidence right here in Gwinnett County. So this problem and this rot is not just sitting up on the top. And we want people to see this. This all goes back to the club talk. So how many individuals was on the election board in 20 that are still there now? And do you have any information on who's responsible for wanting to dismiss the claims of what the findings were right here in Gwinnett? We're not even talking about the whole, right here in Gwinnett County.
So the election board is comprised of 2 Republican nominees, 2 Democrat nominees, and someone that's supposedly to be an independent. That's very questionable in Gwinnett. And then you have the election supervisor and the county attorney at every board meeting. Okay? So at least 2 of them are still there today from 2020. The chair, Wandy Taylor, and Alice Olenek, who is the Republican nominee. She used to be the chair before Wandy took over maybe a year ago now. But back in 2022, when we dropped these 40,000 affidavits, I think it is today, Stephen O'Day, who's since passed away, was the Democrat nominee, and I think we got Washington DOJ down in Gwinnett County at a meeting.
Hold a minute. Wait a minute. 40,000 affidavits with people who have signed their names willing to go to jail. This is the information that was dismissed by our own election board right here in Gwinnett County?
Yes, it was valid information too, and they lied in the press and they lied at the meeting where they dismissed the whole lot. The gentleman that read the written statement, we don't think he read it, and he sweat profusely. So I think when you lie, you just can't, no matter what your character is. But he's since passed away. But that's the anniversary. So on the other side of the picture, if you put that back up, so Gwinnett County may have dissed on us, but Trump, he really appreciated what we did. And that's Mary Bell and I on the world's smallest stage. Liz Harrington said, LOL, the world's smallest stage. I guess you got to start somewhere. But this was the Pennsylvania rally. He invited us to open and cheer up the crowd at a Pennsylvania rally. And we did. And then we went to the car and said, we just drove 800 miles to scream at a bunch of Pennsylvanians. Let's go do it again. So thank you, President Trump, for inviting us and saying thank you to us, basically. Okay, so we were going to talk about some things that we've been finding as the Georgia Nerds. The Georgia Nerds, as a reminder, is a group of data programmers and analysts across the state, men and women, and we've been working for free and finding some dandy things. So I was thinking about what we were going to cover, and then I thought about Gwinnett County because we're Gwinnett War Room, and I like nothing better than picking on Gwinnett County anyway. So, and oh, by the way, Antonio, they plotted to arrest me one time, the board. They were going to throw me in Kibo's jail. How about
so
that?
what was their reason behind that and or excuse for
Well, you know, delivering truth at the podium with them videoing it, they got real uncomfortable.
So you mean we actually arrest people in this country for telling the truth?
Well, they were plotting to arrest me, but they never
That sounds
did.
familiar.
Yeah, so I basically proved at that point in time when they were that evil that I could do much more damage on Gwinnett County without being behind their podium that I'm paying way too many taxes on anyway. So when we were talking about what are we going to cover today and the state findings that we found, I realized a lot of things have been found in Gwinnett that will explain it about as well as anyway. So let's do a beat down on Gwinnett County. Okay, so I have said behind the podium many times, Georgia commits identity theft on its own citizens. That is very hard to wrap your head around. They are committing identity theft on us via the Department of Driver Services. So we're going to see some real data today. And it's going to be hard to imagine, but it is factual. And we have a couple of different cases we're going to go over. Okay, so Help America Vote Act says that you need to delete duplicates on the voter roll. Now back to those 40,000 affidavits, we had like 3,600 duplicates that they should have taken care of, but they dismissed everything. All right, so duplicates is when you, Antonio, have 2 reg IDs out there. You should only have one, right? Your voter registration ID. Well, this, not only are we not doing a good job as a state of cleaning up those duplicates, they're purposely reissuing the duplicates. And we're going to find out why. All right, so this case originated in Gwinnett County because we found a duplicate ID that was reissued. Once it's canceled, it should never show back up in the system. It became a number at that point. Well, this gal down in Bullitt County, her real ID was still down there. She was still an active voter, but her duplicate got reissued on the voter roll in Gwinnett, and it got ugly fast. So what you're looking at on the screen here is a DDS motor voter application that comes to the election official, a government document for the election official to enter someone on the voter roll. 90% of the ads on the voter roll come through the DDS feed through Jarvis, which is the software tool that the election official uses. This happens to be a false government document. The election official cannot tell the difference between a real DDS motor voter application and a false one. I have heavily redacted this because it's against the law to share people's personal information. But what you need to wrap your head around is our own government is stealing our personal information and creating false government documents and sending them to another government employee to enter a phantom voter on our voter roll to steal elections. So let's look at this document. In the top right-hand corner, the registration number is the reissued ID. They stole this gal's driver's license number. They stole her social security number, her full birth date. You can see her, it's a female, she's a black female. And a lot of times with these these duplicates, they'll slightly misspell the name to throw programmers off. This lady spells her name with 1 L in her last name, but the duplicate has 2 L's in the last name. I have redacted the signature at the bottom, but see those 2 perfect L's in that signature? She doesn't have 2 L's in her name. All right, and normally I would redact the address because I don't want anyone to know where someone lives. However, I knocked on this door at this apartment in Peachtree Corners. She doesn't live there. She lives in Statesboro. And we talked to her in Statesboro. And she said, I have never been to the Gwinnett DMV, and I have not lived in Gwinnett. So this is irrefutable proof that our government, via the Department of Driver Services, is stealing the identity of Georgians and perpetrating fraud on our voter rolls.
So I watched the state election board, and I think we shared this on the last one. And there was a gentleman there whose lawyer was there from Gwinnett that was saying that he was in Nevada.
Mr. Mason.
Yeah, I gotta get all this information because I gotta have them on here.
Yes.
And the attorney was saying, "Hey, I need to know what you guys have so I can start subpoenaing people." But my prediction is they will just kind of let this quietly go away, because once that subpoena starts flying, the Band-Aid's gonna come off this thing, and we're gonna find out. Here's the dots. Here's the pattern recognition again. We're going to find out that our state is doing the same thing that all of these swing states are doing to manipulate the vote. And the fish rots from the head all the way down. Okay? And I know you're going to hear leadership from now on, because that's where the focus and the attention needs to go. And this is how you end up with a club, because the beast has absorbed every threat or most of the threats to itself, and the beast has became them. This how you get McAfee. This how you get who was the other person? This how you get an appointed guy to the state election board who the 3 members had to override. Do you guys noticing a pattern now? So when President Trump came down here a week and a half ago, I'm gonna keep going back to this because you guys got to make a decision. He forced everybody in the room to see what they saw that's going on in this state, and you got to make a decision. I love this right here, because guess what? You have the power right now, and that power right now rests in your choice. You're either going to pick the future for your children, the Constitution of the United States, and what's best for this great nation, or you're going to side with the club. You got a choice to make, and we're going to keep seeing this stuff pop up. I'll let you go on. Kim, want to take over your
So I've spoken with Mr. Mason, and I'm not ready to drop it on your show yet, but we have an exact case like he talked about with a Georgian, and it involves Georgia and Florida. And they stole the man's driver's license in Georgia. And when he talked to me, he found out he had been registered to vote in Florida for 4 years and had moved to 3 different addresses, yet he's never registered to vote in Florida. But worse, he had a Florida driver's license and they canceled his Georgia driver's license. More to come. So
what you're saying right now is, let me go back over this again, because this is a lot to chew on. Like, this is a lot to chew on, because the claims here are ginormous. But this is not hard for me to believe because of what I saw from that attorney who represents a gentleman right here from Gwinnett County, who they claim that he's been voting in Nevada for like maybe 15 plus years. And the guy's like, I've not lived in Nevada for a long time. And his attorney is standing up there at the state election board about a week or so ago saying, hey, my client has not lived there. I need to find out what you have, Georgia, so I can start subpoenaing people. I'm waiting on that moment right there, because he's going to peel off a Band-Aid of something that they don't want the public to know. What do you say?
I say so. And when I've only spoken with him once, and we really do have to connect. And he couldn't believe I had another case. And so I'm glad I've got his number. He was a very well-spoken man, and I look forward to sharing data, because I can help him from a voting standpoint of what to ask for, at least in Georgia. But this Florida case is almost identical, and it's frightening because the guy has an unexpired driver's license, and he goes to vote, and they say your driver's license has been abandoned. And then he calls a cop friend, and he goes, yeah, I'm looking at your Florida driver's license right now. What do you mean? I've never had a driver's license in Florida.
So wait, they stole his, did it have a picture on it?
Well, I don't know yet. I got to talk to him again.
This right here is, listen, this is like a thriller. What a time to be alive.
I know.
And for the guy, you know, I'm a big time sports guy. I played football through college, but this is far more exciting to me. And I'm not delighting in all this corruption at all. Not whatsoever. I can't stand it, matter of fact. But this is an exciting time, you know, when you're able to sit here with people like Kim, have people come in like Bob, Jason, Roy earlier, and Candace, people that have been a part of the show today to try to help to get the word out. You know, we're in a good versus evil moment, and you know, and I can't help but let the sports guy in me come out right now. And I want we win anyway. I just want to get a couple of licks in on these guys.
So let's take it back to my presentation, Antonio.
All right, let's do that.
So, okay, so it gets worse with this gal. So she admitted to registering to vote, but had never voted. Well, they like to steal the identity of someone that doesn't vote very often because they're not paying attention to see if anybody's voting on their behalf. She registered, she's not that old, and she registered to vote, I think, in 2019. Now, if you look at these three screenshots here on the screen, these are from Jarvis. These are part of her voter record. All right, so remember, she only has one L in her last name. At the top of the screen is one signature. I've sat on this for a year because I knew I couldn't share someone's signature. Then I got crafty and said, "Oh wow, I can redact 2/3 of it, and you get it." Mm-hmm. Okay, so then in the middle of the screen is her quote-unquote signature from 2020. They started creating all those duplicates right around an election. Whatever you're thinking right now is probably correct. And then at the bottom of the screen, that's 2023 when they had the fraudulent DDS motor voter application. I don't think I know what this lady's signature is.
So for clarity, just for people that's not that smart like me. So this signature is three different times has supposed to have been signed by the same person, right?
Correct.
And this is supposed to be the same person with the name don't even look the same. Let's pull that back up.
I'm not a signature verification expert, but do you need to be?
No, you don't have to have no kind of expertise in signatures to see that has been fraudulently signed 3 different times by 3 different people.
Yeah, so she's had identity theft committed on her by Georgia for at least 4 years. It got really crazy in Hall County recently. We uncovered someone that's had identity theft on them for 10 years.
Okay, wait, hold on, because I don't want to forget this. So let's go back. So the case in Fulton County had to do with, did they have one to do with signatures? Is what SB? Because I know there was a bill that was
nope.
Okay.
No, so they talk. Well, that's interesting. They want to talk about signature verification when you vote, right? Mm-hmm. Well, this gal's had so many signatures on her voter record. These are her voter records. This is in Jarvis, what you're looking at. How the heck do they know what her real signature is? How do they know? Okay.
So the Fulton County.
Okay,
I get it now. So there was a lot of pressure. I guess Kemp was supposed to be going to a Trump rally, and there was pressure on him to investigate. Was that the signatures?
Well, in 2020, they didn't do signature verification almost the entire election, and some counties, they were actually called and said, do not do signature verification. Well, that right there, I like this word. That's hinky. Okay, so, but they did it anyway because they run a tight ship up there, and they have their cards in their file cabinet with your signature on it, and they do signature verification. But they've relaxed signature verification, but it's even worse. Have you checked into those poll pads and you do that little pin thing? Like, oh, sure, that's your signature. No. So that's all been neutered. That's the best way to say it. Okay, so let's talk about some current malfeasance of Gwinnett County. They're so crooked, I swear. So we have all these, in your voter record, it has your registration address. That's where you lay your head at night, okay? And so they got all these with missing address. Literally, the street name on the record is missing address. Okay, that's pretty easy to understand. They don't have a clue where you live. And then they have an undefined precinct of 999999. Now, there's like, don't hold me to it, but I think there's 136 different precincts in Gwinnett County. It's the second largest county in the state. And so it'll have like Pinckneyville this or this, but it's a unique alphanumeric character. 9999 is a placeholder. So, okay, so they don't know where you live, so they don't know where to put you on a precinct. However, the mailing address of this particular one is a local gym. We have them at P.O. boxes. We have them at other addresses. Our no excuse absentee ballots, this Reg ID could ask for an absentee ballot and they mail it to the gym. Yet Gwinnett County doesn't have a clue who this person is or where they live. It violates 21-2-216, I believe, which are minimum requirements to register to vote. One of the minimum requirements is you have to prove where you live. So Gwinnett County is putting registrants in ready for 2024 to where they don't even have a registration address, but they got a valid mailing address. And obviously you can't register to vote at a gym. You can't register to vote at a P.O. box. And so this is all. Oh, and then also, I remember this video. You got to go to see our Rumble channel.
So maybe they voting for less workouts at the gym.
Well, we also have packed pool houses where we have registered voters at the pool house leasing offices in Gwinnett. And I used to joke, what a great deal. So the rent is free. You have a you have a bathroom and a shower in the pool, and they have a barbecue there. It's a pretty good deal. Okay, so anyway, I'll move on this. There's more to that one.
So who's responsible for? Is this a state issue, or is this something? Election board should be looking into. I mean, it's the county, because I know we're talking about county.
So first off, the county, just out of the gate, should never put anybody on the voter roll with missing address. Enough said. Okay, so that's county. But who's doing this crap? Can I say crap on your show? So it can be the DMV.
That's PG-13, so we should be fine.
So the DMV, I just talked about the DMV and showed you the evidence. So in that instance, the county official can't discern a real versus a fake DMV thing that comes to their desk. So the county's innocent in that one, but that's at the DDS in Georgia or even higher that we're kind of learning. And then you have NGOs that have access to our voter rolls, and sometimes it's really obvious how they're packing fake voters on our voter rolls. So it's multiple places where the fraud's coming in.
So why would, maybe you can answer this question, why would an NGO need to have access to our, is NGOs just kind of considered any kind of get out the vote organization?
Non-governmental organization. A lot of them have a lot of words that sound really good, but they're mostly all bad. Yeah. And so basically with no excuse absentee voting, and we're going to get some other proof too that's disturbing, but no excuse absentee voting, if you say I live at the North Pole and you have a registration address in Gwinnett, and you want your absentee ballot mailed to the North Pole, they say, okay. And so it is a gaping hole in our election system, our no excuse absentee voting. So when you see hinky registrations show up and it's not even a valid address, but it has a valid mailing address, that kind of gives you a clue that things are ramping up.
Okay. So we have a great idea now of just how bad things are. So what are some of the solutions that will help to, I know we have to deal with corrupt individuals. There has to be a mind to do the right thing, and we get that. And that's where I guess we the people should be holding representatives accountable. And when somebody like Sam Carline tried to do that, there's some guy walks up to him and gets into an altercation with him because he's questioning his legislator. Sam Carline's trying to get, or there's a consensus around in his county that they wanted to have the governor censured for some of the things maybe he said or to undermine the efforts of the nominee, which is Trump, the Republican nominee. So some guy comes up out of the distance, start something with him and says, leave the legislator alone, from what we gathered, and spits in his face. So is that a encapsulation, in your view, of how the establishment feels about us for questioning them?
Well, the Gwinnett GOP has attacked me before. About a year ago, I was invited to a GRA meeting to stand up for someone because the Gwinnett Election Board had stomped all over our constitutional First Amendment rights and wouldn't let us speak at an election board meeting. And that was ugly. And I thought I was just going to stand up for the patriot that called out the two board members that they should have spoke up on our behalf. Now, I will say right now, David Hancock is a patriot, and he is on the board, and he is good. But that meeting got ugly. And the thing that we didn't expect is the Gwinnett GOP and a lot of Gwinnetians were meaner to me than they were to the person that I was going to defend. So that was also when I found out that the Gwinnett Election Board was plotting to arrest me. So it's like, okay, fine. I won't go back to your meeting, but I will grill you from afar.
So what was their reason for trying to arrest you? I mean, why do you think that they would go to that point?
Well, I can give you a really good example. So they dismissed those those affidavits, right? Mm-hmm. So we knew people that had moved out of state and were voting in our state unlawfully. And so then they asked for their absentee ballot to be mailed to them at their out-of-state address. So we go to the board meeting and we go, you've mailed an absentee ballot to someone we've already challenged. Now you're mailing it to their address that we told you they lived at. You still have a chance to cancel the ballot. Well, Gwinnett County didn't cancel the ballot. So what do? We get behind the podium then and go, okay, you're responsible. You had an opportunity to do the right thing. You had all the evidence and you chose not to do it. Now you are complicit in these election crimes. So they really don't like me explaining to them that they aren't doing their job.
So they come after you for holding them accountable. That's kind of what happens. That's how Jeff Clark got rolled up in his situation. And everybody that saw 2020 know that election, the high potential for fraud occurred in that election. Everybody in the world knows that. So when you stand up to the power structure, like Jeff Clark and many others within their rights, to express a concern, then they come after you, So it's like, those that have been absorbed by the beast, you can tell if they have or not by what they say, what they don't say, what they do, and what they don't do. And many of them have already made their choice. But you that's watching this show, you have an opportunity to make the right choice, to do the right thing. And it's your responsibility, for the sake of your kids, your grandkids, and the future of this nation, to make the right decision and choose to do the right thing and support truth, to spread the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is, because that's just where we are right now. And I'm fine with it. I got people that I know close that, they hang out with the governor, and hey, that's your business. If you want to do that and all of that, whatever. You're grown and all of that. There's nothing personal about this conversation. This has to do with, has he and the rest of them done the best thing that they can do, that's right, that abides by the Constitution, to have free and fair elections. You just told me when you came in that your Twitter followers went from a few hundred to like maybe 30 or 40,000. Why is that? Because people are looking for the truth, and people that's going to hold people accountable that are in positions of leadership to secure our elections so that we have a fair vote.
So let's beat down on Gwinnett some more. So some counties have election officials that have no idea that fraud is being dropped on their head, and they're doing the best they can, but fraud's still in all those small counties. We've proven it. but there's some naughty list, and Zach Manifold is one of the top in the naughty list in Gwinnett County. Have you ever heard, he's the election supervisor, have you ever heard criminals are not that smart? Have you ever heard that phrase? Well, let's talk about Zach. So I wanted to talk about stealing the identity of our felons. It is a whole scheme and a pattern. So they're stealing the identity of felons that are still sitting in jail. And they're stealing their vote. We've found a whole computer pattern on address manipulation. Then they have them vote, and then they cancel them right after the election, and the felon has no idea what's going on, and we must fight for those felons. He may have done something really bad, but he's innocent in this voting. So let's go over Mr. Hickman out of Gwinnett County. So he lived at 4155 Satellite Boulevard, an apartment on Satellite Boulevard in Duluth in 2015. And he was arrested for armed robbery and got 20 years, so it must have been bad. He must have done something pretty bad. Well, Gwinnett County eventually canceled him, and the reason was felon. And they canceled him in 2017. It took them a while, but they did the right thing. Then in April of 2023, Mr. Hickman shows up on the voter roll at 3900 Chattooga Road, Columbus. That's the jail. He's registered to vote at the jail. But now you got to pay attention. The very next month, May of 2023, they move him to Gwinnett County at 3900 Satellite Boulevard. This is the pattern we uncovered. They take the street number of the jail and attach it to the street name of where he used to live. We have a 100 Jim Hester Road in Macon, and all those dudes got moved to 100 Hembrick, 100 Newberry. It's a computer pattern. At first, I thought it was a bad felon. Nope. Then I thought, oh my gosh, it's Shawshank Redemption. It's a bad warden. No, we've proven it across multiple jails. But look at here.
So if they live at 100 East Brook Drive, when they get to the street of the jail, it'll say 100, whatever the name of the jail.
And then they move them. No, okay, so the one at 100 Jim Hester, the guy lived at 226 Newberry Road, can't remember the city. Okay, he gets arrested for whatever, and they put him in 100 Jim Hester Drive in Macon. That's the jail. Okay. Then they move him to 100 Newberry. So it's just like Mr. Hickman. They take the street name of where he used to live and attach the street number of the jail. And because we have multiple jails in the same pattern, and many of them are still sitting in jail, we have a pattern. Okay. And then there's the pattern of how many felons are canceled right after an election. We have one felon that voted on November 3rd, 2020, and he was canceled as a felon on November 3rd, 2020. They don't waste any time getting rid of these felons because they're covering up their crimes. But it gets better. It's saucy in Gwinnett.
All right, okay. Come on, bring it.
So we had two felons like this that were still sitting in jail, and we thought it'd be comical because Gwinnett County proof is today. They don't even look at the evidence. We said we're going to bring this fraud and drop it in their lap without them even knowing it's coming. Well, the last scenario, they didn't know it was coming, and they were a little stunned on what to say because we dropped that fraud right in front of them. I didn't. A patriot in Gwinnett did. But back to these two felons, Mary Bill Hodges, who runs the diners in Gwinnett, she challenged these two felons, and all she said was, they don't live at this address, okay? The other one was a gentleman that was in a jail in northwest Georgia, but they had him moving back and forth between Gwinnett and Fulton County 3 times, 3 visits to the DMV in 2 months while the guy's sitting in jail. So we thought, okay, we're going to have fun with this one. So she drops those 2 challenges, and she does it on August 6th. In the Jarvis audit history log, Jarvis being the election system thing, we ORR'd these 2 IDs via another county because Zach wouldn't give it to you. And they both had DMV administrative updates on August 14th. So, what happened to my screen? Anyway, What happened to my screen? That must be some kind of
Let me see if
sign. Anyway, I was going to show, it's not on there. I was going to show you the letter from Zach Manifold on August 16th. He's got a little karma going for him today because I can't show his signature. But he sends a letter to the elector, Maribel Hodges, and says, well, Mr. Hickman is in Muskogee County and the other gentleman's in Fulton County. And then we got the records from Jarvis, and he had someone alter public records. There is no evidence of Mr. Hickman going from the jail to Gwinnett County back to the jail. So they covered up their evidence, but they're not smart because we've got the receipts. We have the voter rolls of Mr. Hickman sitting on the voter roll for 2.5 months in Gwinnett. So the fact that Zach Manifold sends a letter and lies to a Gwinnett elector and obfuscates a 21-2-229 challenge, he's got some explaining to do. It's criminal behavior to alter public documents, especially as an election supervisor. But here's where it gets interesting. I do not believe Zach Manifold has access in Jarvis to actually edit the audit history log. So he had to have spoken with someone at the state level to do it.
The tentacle goes all the way back. And this is why the club is important, because my theory would be the people involved are afraid of what is going to come down from the top. It's like kind of like once you get involved, well, each individual has to make a choice of whether they're going to do the right thing or not. But once you get tied in and tell that first lie, you know, it might be with your action, you got to tell 1,000 more after that. And that's why the criminal it starts to appear not to be smart, because he failed the first test, which was when you lie or you cheat or do something wrong, everything subsequent of that, everything is not going to lay out and make sense. So there's your tracks. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, so Zach was really kind of stupid because all he had to do was contact Maribel Hodges and go, we noticed that these are 2 felons that need to be taken off the voter roll, and we're taking care of that. That's all he had to do. But instead, he altered public documents on both of them and lied to a Gwinnett elector, and he didn't tell the truth, and we have the receipts. So he has to deal with what he did. He could have been a little smarter and just said, we found out they're felons and we're going to take them off the voter roll.
So in your opinion, is this more of like incompetence or corruption?
Well, I don't know if I don't suspect Manifold had anything to do with the 2 felons being dropped into the voter roll. But he very
so that was kind
much
of dropped in on him, but he just kind of.
But he did a cover up and committed crimes.
I understand.
So I call that crimes on top of crimes. So he's trying to cover up for the fraud that's going on in the state because he realized that that guy's still sitting in jail, and here he is on his voter roll. And I don't know if he was smart enough to realize the address pattern matching, but it was that case that made us realize there's felons all over this state that are stealing their identity.
Yeah, but just think about all the subsequent decisions that are made that people are in positions like Zach that's getting dropped on them from what I believe is coming up from on high. You know, here's a couple of guys that are felons. We need to make sure that they vote that way. Then the election worker or whoever people maybe in Zach's position, it just kind of lands on them, and they end up becoming part of a manipulation scheme that they never set out to do, but they still have become an accessory to what could be a crime.
Well, there's certain election officials that are on the naughty list, and they help throw elections, and I like to deal in facts, but I've seen enough of Zach's cover-up in different ways. I do not believe he's an honest person trying to do the best he can for running elections. How's that for being politically correct?
Okay. All right.
And also, but Zach was not around for the 2020 election in Gwinnett. However, we have presented Zach a lot of evidence that shows that Gwinnett County cheated enough in 2020 to throw the presidential spread all along. Everybody's been focused on Fulton, their low-hanging fruit. Gwinnett did their share. in a big way.
So what more receipts you got for Gwinnett? I know you brought the presentation stuff.
Well, that's all for my slides. I really wanted to beat up Gwinnett because I'm in the Gwinnett War Room and they deserve everything they can get. We have a couple of other videos that we're going to post on our Twitter feed, the Georgia Nerds _real. And we're going to post this interview, and then we're going to post a couple videos we've already done on Gwinnett evidence. Okay. So we'll dig down a little more on that. But I also want to tell your viewers that it's so bad out there, and don't let me forget on how to vote, that we have deceased people that have been dead for 19 years that show up in the Secretary of State files as voting in person.
Wait, didn't the Secretary of State come out and say something to the effect that, oh, we cleaned the voter rolls up, or was it?
No, his favorite line, he's told a million times, is we have the cleanest voter rolls in America. Okay, so as I said in my press release last week, a lie told 1,000 times is still just a lie. And it's so bad in Georgia, you can clean voter rolls like that duplicate ID, and it shows back up. Well, you can clean dead people off, and they're reissuing dead people. But sometimes you don't even clean you clean the dead person off, so you think they're clean, meaning they're not on the voter roll. But in 2020, Mr. Moore voted. He's a World War II vet. How dare you pick on a World War II vet? But he died in 2003, and the Secretary of State files shows him voting in person on 10/26/2020. So what that means, it's hard to wrap your head around it, but you don't even have to be on the voter roll, and the machines will drop in a reg ID and then fraudulently put stuff on the absentee file to make it look real, but they're really just covering up their crimes. It's bad. So now I'm going to talk. I want everybody to get out there and vote, but we need to talk about how we need to vote. So we've gone over, they pick on dead people because they can't vote, felons because they're not allowed to vote, people that don't frequently vote. We talked about her. And then we have people that have moved out of state and they're voting them and they don't even know that we're voting them. Okay.
I wonder if I'm still voting in Alabama or not. You
well,
got
me too.
to thinking.
I need to look at my maiden name. It's a valid question. So how to vote? I'm not an absentee voter. But what I saw in 2020 is lots of people, we don't have enough time today, but Brad Raffensperger stole over 300,000 votes, we believe, via a scheme he had going in 2019 and 2020 in preparation for the election. But people showed up in droves around Georgia and they went to vote. And they said, you've already voted via absentee ballot. That happened a lot. So we're recommending the earliest date you can request an absentee ballot is August 19th. So that's right around the corner. You don't have to do it on that day, but we need to get on it and ask for our absentee ballot. I didn't say you need to vote via an absentee ballot, but you need to go ask for yours. You're less likely to have a nefarious party ask for the ballot on your behalf and then steal your vote. Now, you sit there with that ballot and you don't do anything with it until Election Day. Don't do early voting. That's when all the cheat occurs. You're giving everybody all the evidence of how much cheat they need to do. They say we're the gold standard, and they do it for convenience. Don't do it. Don't vote early. Now you have two choices as an American. You can vote via that absentee ballot, or you can show up on Election Day and vote via that machine. You need to vote because we've got to overrun the algorithms, but we can't give them any heads up. And if you're a frequent voter, they know you're going to vote. So they're not going to be surprised when you ask for an absentee, other than you may not have asked for one in the past. I've never asked for an absentee ballot, but I plan on doing that next week, just so I can sit on my own vote. I didn't say I was going to do anything with it, and I'm going to decide how I'm going to vote on Election Day.
All right, well, that sounds great. So, Kim, it's been a pretty interesting day. This is I have to say this has been most action-packed day that we've had.